Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Natalia. Hope you're having a wonderful day and I'm so happy to have you here today. So today we're doing episode 1 of my book reviews for the year. So I made it a goal in my digital vision board that I was going to read 26 books this year. So I'm going to take each book I read and I'm going to do a little review on it. I'm going to tell you guys what I learned, some key points of the overall book, and what I would recommend on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being that I would highly recommend the book. So let's get started. My first book that I read for this year is going to be Unf Yourself by Gary John Bishop. In the beginning of the book, he makes a connection between our language and our thoughts, the types of stuff that we're telling ourselves, the type of language that we're using. And then throughout the rest of the book, he gives 7 key phrases on ways that we can change the way we either view something or what we're telling ourselves. So I'm going to take each statement that he gives, I'm going to give a little bit about it, what I learned from it, as well as what can help you. So the first one he gives is I am willing. It really helps us to take our power back and our control back of our lives with this statement that I am willing. And he really focuses on the ways that we can take actions to change whatever it is that we don't like in our lives, to take control of our situation. And that if we don't take the actions, that means we are willing to continue with the situation. He uses this example. Maybe we call ourselves fat or we struggle with our weight and we want to change it. To ask ourselves, am I willing to go to the gym? Am I willing to change my eating habits? Am I willing to exercise more? We have to ask ourselves, whatever it is that we think we want, whatever change we want to see in our lives, we have to ask if we're willing to do whatever it takes to make that change, to take the actions necessary. Because if we are willing, that's going to help us. It's going to make us realize that we can take control. We do have the power and we are able and going to make those changes. But if we're not willing, if the answer ends up being no, I don't want to get up and exercise. I don't want to change how I eat. I don't want to drink more water, whatever it is. If we find that we're not willing, then perhaps maybe we need to change the goal. That's another thing that I really appreciated about this chapter is he really has you think, like, is this something I actually want? Or is this something I am saying I want because it's what society pushes? So let's say society pushes being a certain way or looking a certain way. So we think we want to lose weight. We think that we want to have 6-pack abs. But do we actually want that? And if we do, we will take the actions that are necessary. If we want the change, if that's truly our desire, we're willing to make those changes and we'll be willing to do what it takes. So that's why it's so important to really look at what it is that you're thinking you want in life, whatever it is that you're not happy with, and changing the situation, looking at the goal and really finding out what's behind it. Is this what I want, or is this just what I'm fed to believe that I want? And then if you do decide it is what I want, then ask yourselves with putting am I willing in front of whatever it is to get there. If we answer we are willing to do it, then changing the statement to I am willing. So I am willing to put myself out there. I am willing to meet new people. I am willing to change the way I eat. And that again gives us our power back and it takes us from victim to victor mindset. When we have the willingness, there's nothing that can stop us. I love the saying where there's a will, there's a way, and it's so true. If you truly want something and you're truly willing to do something, you're gonna find the way to get it. That's just within us. That's the power and the capability that every person has for whatever it is that they want. The second statement that he picks is I am wired to win. The key behind this whole chapter is what story are you telling yourself? Because whatever story you tell yourself is what is going to come true. And this has to be deep, deep, deep down within the subconscious, the actual story that you are deep down telling yourself, not just consciously what you're telling yourself, because sometimes on the surface, we can say we want something or we can say I'm wired to win, but deep down, do you believe that? Is that the true story that you're telling yourself? So sometimes whatever situation we're in because that's the story that we're telling ourselves. Gives the example of the goal of a healthy relationship. That's what on the surface you're saying that you want. You want a healthy relationship. But deep down inside, you may be saying, will anyone ever love me? Am I worthy of being loved? Why do I always seem to attract the same type of people? This is what it is deep down subconsciously. And that's the reason why, although we say we want a healthy relationship, it's constant failed relationships. We're constantly attracting the same person. Why is that? That's because deep down the story you're telling yourself is maybe you deserve that type of person. Maybe that's the only person that I attract. I attract people that are broken, that need help, that just cause problems. You're deep down telling yourself that, and maybe you don't actually believe you're worthy of love. So what's going to happen is you're going to constantly attract relationships that reflect what it is that you believe deep down. With this example, he really gets people to understand that you are wired to win. Every person is winning currently in the story that they are telling themselves. The only way to fix it is to rewrite that story. And I love this statement he gives on page 58 where he says, "You were convinced you weren't worthy of a loving relationship, so you systematically set out to prove it, and you succeeded." So that's where he really connects subconscious beliefs with how we are still winning at whatever it is that we are believing and telling ourselves deep down. It also helps us to realize how we can uncover our subconscious thoughts, because perhaps some of you are wondering, how can I do that, right? So what he suggests is to look at whatever it is in life that we're not happy with. And he says you'll most likely be able to connect with an emotionally charged event. So look at the problem areas of your life that are happening right now and think back in the past to what may have caused you to have that set in your mind. So he gives the example of perhaps it was childhood bullying, parents that never quite lived up to your wants and needs, public embarrassment, or major career failures. So these past events, and they were emotionally charged, so that's why they stuck. Because let's be real, we are emotional creatures and our emotions do have a powerful effect on us. So these emotionally charged events are the ones that are causing the current situation that we see now. We ended up internalizing these feelings and this situation, believing that this is either what we deserve or all we'll get, all we'll have. So when we look at the problem areas and we find what event it was that is connected to it, that's when we can start to rewrite the thoughts and the story and change our beliefs about that. That's when we'll start to see actual changes in our lives and start to get what it is that we want. The third statement that he uses is, "I got this." And that is so amazing to tell yourself, even just on a day-to-day basis, just constantly reminding yourself that you got this. And this chapter really resonated with me because I truly believe that when we reflect on our past experiences and we realize all the negative things that we overcame, we truly got it. I mean, we are capable and able to overcome anything. And that is what he describes in this chapter, is thinking back to all the positive experiences, realizing how those have led up to now, and also the bad experiences, any negative one, and reminding ourselves that we got it. We're still here and we are still able to continue going. And if we were able to overcome the plethora of things that we've gone through, we can overcome anything that is to come. So you truly do got this. And that's what I love about this chapter, is it's just so empowering and it's so motivating. It's so believable because we can reflect on our lives and our experiences and see that we are powerful and capable to overcome anything, and that we got this. Kind of talks about a snowball effect. So sometimes the negativity in our lives, it starts to accumulate, right? You're worried about your bills. Let's say you can't pay your bills. So what's going to happen at dinner time? You're not going to enjoy your food because you're so worried and stressed. Then you start to feel on edge around your family at the dinner table, and they also pick up on it. So it's just this like snowball effect of negativity that he talks about, is kind of comparing our problems. And I agree and disagree with this, because I do think it can help, but I think it also cannot help. So I'll explain why I believe this, in my opinion on this. But what he talks about is realizing that if you even just leave your house and you go down the street, you're going to find that there's people with more problems than you. You will find that. And I do think that's true. There are people that have way more worse problems, you know. You may be struggling to pay your water bill, but there's people who don't even have a house. So I do understand that comparison, and I agree, because it helps us to put our problems into perspective. It's going to help you to get connected to your reality, your real life, instead of your emotionally soaked self-talk narrative. So I do think that sometimes we tend to exaggerate our problems. There's negative emotions behind it, and so we tend to get in this like super deep pool of self-pity that sometimes what it takes to pull us out is just reflecting on the good things. And I think that's the upside and the positive part about comparing our problems, is it helps you to just put it into perspective, and it helps you to appreciate what you do have. And that's where I do agree with comparing our situation with others, because at the end of the day, you're able to start appreciating not necessarily what they don't have, but what you do have. So that's right. You may be struggling to pay the electricity, but you do have a roof over your head. You have food on the table. And those things, when we just change that and we change the negative self-talk, we're able to view the positive of the situation. And when we are positive, and I truly believe this, positivity motivates. So recognizing and appreciating what we have is going to help to motivate us to continue going and to overcome the problem at hand. So everyone, say it with me. I got this. The fourth statement that he provides is, I embrace the uncertainty. And I've talked about this too in my previous videos, how we will never be able to move forward without recognizing that there's going to be some uncomfortable involved. And a lot of us, we don't like uncertainty. We don't like not knowing, right? But embracing and accepting the uncertainties of life and the unknowns, that's what's going to help us to move forward and move from where we are. And I love how he brings out in this chapter that really part of the unknown and part of the uncertainty, within that uncertainty is so much potential, and that is because success is never certain. Really, nothing is ever certain in life. And there's opportunity found in the uncertainty. He gives really good examples of changing to help change the way that we think. He says, how will you ever get a raise if you don't take the risk of asking? How will you get ahead in your career if you're always holding on to the certainty and comfort? Since success is never certain, there's risk involved. There's always going to be risk involved. But there's also positive opportunities and possibilities within this uncertainty and with these risks that can help us. All the successful people that we know today, they embraced the uncertainty. They took the risks, not knowing whether they were going to be successful, and they were. And that is the beautiful part about it, is continuing to take certain risks, safe risk, I would say, with the uncertainty, pushing past the uncomfort, so that we can reap those rewards and be successful as well. The fifth statement he gives is, I am not my thoughts, I am what I do. This chapter is where he focuses more on our actions versus our thoughts. He even says that it's impossible to not have a negative thought. We are going to have negative thoughts. It's impossible to always have a positive thought, right? So just recognizing that and acting anyway, taking action with the negative thought within our bad mood, that is going to help us to get out of the rut that we are in. Because if you're waiting for those negative thoughts to disappear, you may always be waiting. You're going to be stuck, because it's just a fact of life that we are going to have negative thoughts pass us. It's what we do despite those thoughts, despite the situation we're in. And when we take action, it's really disproving the negative thought. And then you're able to change it into a positive thought with proof to back it. And I love how he also brings out that just because we have positive thoughts, it doesn't equal success. There's so many people who have positive thinking and nothing comes of it. You know, just because you think positive doesn't mean you're going to be successful. That's why action is also needed with negative thoughts, and you can take action with positive thoughts. Either way, take action. And that's his point, is just act. We need to take action in order to see results. That's just the fact of life. The only way to move forward is to take an action. So move forward despite your negative thoughts, rewrite those negative thoughts, try to be positive, and just take the action. The sixth statement that he gives is, I am relentless. This is where he focuses on taking risk despite discomfort, and even though it may seem impossible, he really focuses on having us learn that nothing is impossible unless you believe it's true. And he gives the example of the Wright brothers, how back in their time, no one would have believed that you can fly from California to China in a metal tube filled with hundreds of people. No one would have even thought of that back then. It was just this thought, though, that they had, and they were relentless in making a way to make it possible. And that's why we have airplanes today, because they believed in their thought and they tried it anyway, despite it seeming like it was impossible, despite people probably telling them that it was impossible. They found a way, and now we can thank them because we're able to fly all over the world because of their invention, because of the risk that they took, the relentlessness in finding a way to make this possible. And what he writes in this book is, you probably just want to make more money, face your fears, find your soulmate, lose some weight, or strike a blow for a better life. And he says things that have been done by millions of times before and will be done again and again in the future by people just as capable as you. So maybe we're not trying to invent a new invention. We're not trying to create something just that came from our thoughts, right? We just want to make some relatively minor changes in our life. Things that have happened by people just like you and me, showing that you are capable and it is possible. It's just a matter of being relentless and not giving up and continuing to try. Even if people tell you that you're not able to do it, even if your current circumstances and situation is telling you you're not able to do it, it is possible. There's so many rags to riches stories, and not even just in a financial way, even just in a mental or emotional or physical glow up, whatever kind of glow up you're looking for, it is so possible to go from rags to riches. People have done it before. We all have the same capabilities, and while it may look different, the road that we get there, because perhaps we don't have similar resources, we all have a brain and we all are able and capable of finding solutions. It's just a matter of being relentless and not giving up. We never know what we could prove to be impossible or possible. He says you could throw yourself at something 1,000 times and succeed on the 1,001 time. So really, then that's why it's so important to have this characteristic of relentlessness, because it's continuing to go despite things telling you you can't or no. Despite failing 1,000 times, you might succeed on that 1,001 time, that next time that you try. Being relentless. If it's truly something you want, do not give up and continue to relentlessly work to get it. Despite rejection, ridicule, setbacks, failures, which I've talked about in another video, despite all of that, continuing to go and not quit. That's where sometimes patience and relentlessness kind of go hand in hand. It can take time, and it may take that one extra try to succeed. You may fail 1,000 times, recognizing that it just takes time, and you're trying again, and you'll succeed on that 1,001 time. And the seventh and last statement that he gives is, I expect nothing and accept everything. Most of the time, expectation is what leads to disappointment. We're expecting something to happen a certain way or be a certain way, and when it doesn't, that's what leads to disappointment, and that's what can weigh us down. And he talks about kind of like our relationships with other people, how we expect people to treat us the way that we treat them. A hidden expectation, and it seems logical, it seems like the right thing, but that's an expectation that leads to disappointment when they don't treat us the way that we think they should, or the way that we have been treating them. Now we feel like they owe it to us. If we all just learn to let go of, and we just accept things the way that they are, and that's why he gives that phrase, to expect nothing and accept everything. If we just accept the way that they are, accept that this is perhaps the way the person is, or this is the way it's going to be, because you can't control anything but yourself. So when you accept everything else in life and stop expecting things from life or from people, that is what's going to help you in your life. You'll let go of all of that weight. You'll let go of all of that, the debt that you created in your mind. And I'm telling you, our thoughts and our feelings can weigh us down and affect our lives in ways we may not realize. And if we're expecting things from people or from life itself, we're just going to be disappointed, and it's going to cause us to lose the focus from ourselves and what we can control, and leave us with resentment, anger, or frustration. So the way that we can uncover this and what our expectations may be if they're hidden is take an area of our life that's not going so well, write out how it's supposed to be going, and then how it is actually going, and get into details on both of these things. And you'll find that your anguish and your frustration is when there is a huge gap between both things. The bigger the gap, the more the frustration. Uncover what it is that you're expecting and the expectation behind it, and then let it go. Let go of the expectation and accept it for how it is. The reason he says to do that is because expectation of how life should be isn't doing you any good. And that's why you need to let it go. It's not helping you to be expecting things, so let that part go. It's only hurting you. It's only causing you to feel anger or frustration or disappointment. So letting go of the expectation is going to help you. He's not saying to settle for your current situation. That's why all the other statements led to how we can fix things. But what he's saying is just letting go of the expectation when we don't see it and just accepting for the way it is. When we do that, then we're able to make changes, actual real changes, because we're no longer expecting it to already be that way or being upset that it's not that way. All of these statements have been so powerful, and reading this book has changed my life and my mindset. It's also reaffirmed things I've already believed. So I would recommend this book an 8 out of 10. I highly recommend that you read this book. And I think the biggest pros are, if you're new to changing your life, if you feel so stuck and you're not sure what it is and why you are in this situation you're in right now and you don't know how to get started, this is the book for you. It is like such an eye-opener, and it really is helpful in identifying where our problem areas are, why they're there, and how we can change them. I really hope you enjoyed this review. If you've read the book, let me know what you think about it. As always, thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye. Testing 1 2 3 do. In the